All right, woman, you ready for a romantic date night in the shop?
Yes.
You're a good girl.
I know.
Okay, so I thought we were done with this thing, but apparently you do not want a squatted truck.
No.
Why not?
Because
It's nerdy. All right. Well, you know the routine. Get this front end jacked up, get it on jack stands, and we'll start tearing it apart. All right, lady, now what?
And now take it apart.
Well, get to taking apart.
I need tools.
You know where the tools are at. What are you going to do?
And then take off this piece here. And this here.
It's all coming off, right?
Yes.
All right, get to work.
Ooh.
Okay, we're going to start by getting this inner fender well out, which is just a bunch of 13mm bolts. It may go back in there in some shape or form, but we're just going to get it out of the way for now. So, you ready, woman?
I'm ready.
Get to it. What you doing?
Wrenching.
Wrenching. All right, you got your wrench?
Got it.
So go ahead and get this nut off the tie rod. And we'll smack it with a hammer. Get that thing out of the way. Don't do that. Let me see it. Give me that hammer.
Ooh, look at this thing.
All right, got your jack?
Got it.
All right, let's go. You gonna put it up underneath that control arm? Just till gets a little bit of pressure on it. That's good. Then that lower ball joint bolt, get your wrench and spin that off. Okay, so we got everything off this side. This coil spring's ready to come out. So I have a little bit of pressure on the jack, just gonna let that down and get it out of there. All right, grab that spring, lady. Coil springs are for poor people, aren't they?
Yes.
Yes, get that out of here. We don't want that. Okay, so on these S10s, when you bag them, if you're running factory lower control arms, you have to de-hump them, which is these humps here on both sides. As this control arm comes up, they will hit the bottom of the frame and hold the truck up. So I'm just going to get this control arm off of here, and we're going to cut these humps off, and I think we're just going to plate this whole arm, but either way, it's going to be a lot easier with it off of there. Okay, so you gonna go get us pizza and I'll tear apart this other side?
Yes.
All right, be careful.
Always.
All right, guys, Amanda had to go into work for a little bit today, so you're stuck with me, but she'll be back out here at the end of the day. But that's all right because we got plenty of scary grinding and welding and stuff she's not too crazy about anyways. So let me show you what we got. All right, so I'm gonna start on these lower control arms. And as I mentioned before, you can get away with just de-humping them, which is just cutting these humps off on both sides, and then you would plate them and run a lower bag cup. But if I'm going to do all that, I'm just going to go ahead, cut this whole section out lower. We'll make a plate for it. We won't have to run a cup. It'll just be way cleaner and way gooder. So I'm going to get them all marked out and start cutting. Okay, so give you guys a quick look at what I got going on. All I did was set it on a flat surface. I measured up 2 inches, made a couple marks, and I drew my line. And obviously all the way around it. Took the plasma, cut that out. That's what that is. And then just took some poster board, made a template, cut it out of 1/4 inch steel because that's what I had. You could probably get away with a little thinner, but there's the plate. Obviously a little bit of heating and beating is in order, but you can see kind of how much lower the arm is now. So I'm going to go ahead and start tacking this into place, and probably have to beat it in shape a little bit here and there, but that's the plan. Okay, so I got it in place and kind of stitch welded into place enough it's not going to move, but I'm not going to fully weld it yet. One, because running pretty low on welding juice. Want to make sure we have enough to do the other one today. And also, I just want to get this in the truck fully installed with an airbag and on the ground, and make sure there's no clearance issues or anything. And then we'll take them back out, fully weld them, close up all the gaps and everything, and clean them up and paint them then. But we're gonna jump to the other one, and then we'll move on over to the truck. Okay guys, so got these control arms, good enough for today, good enough for test fit. Like I said, I'll get them back out of here on another day and finish them up, get them all cleaned up and painted. But for now, we're going to jump over to the truck, and you can kind of see where I marked out that spring pocket for a bag clearance. And that's just going off of experience. I've bagged a lot of these trucks, but that'll get us started. There may be a little bit of cutting and fine tuning once we get everything test fit. But either way, I'm gonna get that cut out, and hopefully by the time I'm done, Amanda will be home, and we'll get her out here, help me get this thing back together and on the ground. So hang in there guys, the boobs are coming. Okay guys, so I got that all cut out, and just kind of test fitting a bag, and you can kind of see why you need to do that. The more this bag gets compressed, the more it balloons out. And like I said, just take your time, do nice clean cuts, avoid any sharp edges, any sharp corners. Try to make everything nice and round and smooth, and go back through. Hit it with a grinder, knock off any edges. But that's what I got. And now I'm going to put one of these control arms in place real quick. Just throw this back together finger tight with a bag in there so I can put a wheel on it and jack it up. Make sure this upper cup doesn't need trimmed down some. It may be too tall. We may need to trim a little bit off of it. But like I said, just going to slam that all together so I can get a wheel on it, do some measurements, make sure it's going to lay out, and then we'll jump to the other side. Okay, so I got this side all slammed together real quick, just to get some measurements and see what we're working with. And it needs to go up about another 2.5 inches. But right now, we are up against inner fender well, which you can see I marked where we're going to be cutting that. And probably just for the day, we're going to yank this heater box off because it's going to be hitting before too long. But we'll modify it, put it back in here on another day. And underneath, I don't know how much you can see of it, but we got plenty of room between the control arm and the frame. This is where them humps were, and as you can see, if they're still on there, they'd be hitting the frame at this point. Only problem we have under here, this bag is now fully collapsed, which means we'll have to take maybe an inch and a half off that upper bag cup. But I got all the measurements I need, so going to tear this apart, this side back down, and the other side should go pretty quick. Okay, so just give you guys a quick look while the wheel's off before I blow this all back apart. But with everything in place, I was able to mark where the sway bar end link's going to go, so we can drill a hole for that in that control arm. I traced around where the bag sits, so we can drill that hole in the center down there. And I also just marked little spots where I want to trim this spring pocket out a little more. And they're not hitting yet, but at some point these tie rods are going to hit the frame. So I marked that. I'm just going to go ahead, cut that out while the plasma cutter's out. We're not going to weld it up today. I just want to get this thing thrown back together real quick so we can see it on the ground. But that's where I'm at with it. So I'll get this part, this side here, all blown back apart, get the other side cut out, and we'll get this thing back together. Okay guys, so I think I got enough of the inner fender well cut out. Got everything on the truck cut. Control arms done enough for the day. And look who joined us. Told you guys there'd be boobies later. So you're just in time. Help us slam this thing back together. And you took it apart. You remember how it goes back together?
No.
All right, we'll figure it out.
Got this.
All right, you got your fitting?
Got it.
Got your airbag?
Got it.
All right, put it in there. All right, take your wrench,
Got my wrench.
give it a snug. That's good enough. All right, what about your bag cup right there? You wanna grab that? And grab our bolts. Okay, so got that control arm back in place, just threw some bolts on it, no nuts or anything because it's going to be coming right back apart, and temporary air line running through the frame, but we're going to go ahead and get this airbag bolted in. We'll get the control arm back up in place, bolt the airbag in from the bottom, throw the spindle back on, and jump to the other side. All right, where you at, lady? Get over here. All right, get this back end jacked up. You can get the jack stands out, then move to the front. Let it down. All right, Goof, you want the pleasure of airing it out for the first time?
Yes.
All right, go for it. All right. This thing doesn't lay out all the way, it's your fault. All right, we got some trimming to do. Doesn't lay out, woman.
Sorry.
You can't have that. It's close, but we'll have a little bit of trimming. You know there's guys who bag trucks that don't lay out?
That's a damn shame.
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
It's a shame.
I mean, might be biologically guys. I think they identify as girls.
Ooh.
Peter,
Ha, Peter.
Alex, Tom? Yeah, Tom never finishes a truck. All right, but there it is. Like I said, we'll have a little bit of trimming to do. It's about a half an inch from laying out in the front. But it's close. So on the next video, I guess we'll be figuring that out and trim whatever we have to and get this thing plumbed up.